He was strapped inside the truck, microphone handed through the window, thousands of people watching, the entire NASCAR world waiting. And in that moment, one of the most electric, most emotional moments in recent NASCAR history, he said 3 things. Be like Biff, do it for Dale, and drivers, start your engine. The crowd exploded, the engines roared, but online, something else was about to explode. Because in those 4 seconds, one name was missing. And for hundreds of thousands of NASCAR fans, that one missing name felt like a punch to the gut. Stay right here, because what happened next went way beyond a simple command. Before we go any further, if you're new here, this is NASCAR Report Today. We cover the stories that actually matter, the controversies, the moments, the real reactions from real fans. Not just the race results, but everything happening behind the scenes and inside the garage. If you have ever been genuinely emotional about NASCAR, if this sport means something to you, hit that subscribe button right now, because we're going to cover this story the way it deserves to be covered. Every piece of it. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to have a completely different perspective on what happened that day at Michigan. So let us get into it. Let us go back to Michigan International Speedway. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race day. The energy is high. The stands are packed. And this particular race already has a special kind of electricity around, because the Grand Marshal is not a former champion, not a racing legend, not a Hall of Famer. It is Cleetus McFarland, a YouTube star, a guy who built his career doing burnouts, blowing up cars, and entertaining millions of people online. And NASCAR gave him the mic. Not just any mic, the Start Your Engines command mic. That is as big as it gets in motorsports. Now, for people who do not know Cleetus, and trust me, a lot of traditional NASCAR fans feel exactly that way. Let me give you a quick picture. Cleetus McFarland, real name Cooper Bogetti, has built one of the biggest automotive YouTube channels, millions of subscribers. He races his own cars. He has his own Freedom Factory. He is loud, he is fun, he is passionate, and recently he made it official. He wants to compete in NASCAR. Not just wave the green flag, actually race. And NASCAR, they have been giving him opportunities to do exactly that. So on this day at Michigan, Cleetus was not just Grand Marshal. He was also entered in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race. He was already belted into the number 4 Nice Motorsports Chevrolet. A crew member walked over to his window, handed a microphone inside the truck, and Cleetus, sitting in full race gear, about to compete, delivered the command to the entire field. And honestly, he delivered it with everything he had. But here's the thing. The timing of this moment, the specific emotional weight hanging over NASCAR right now, made what Cleetus said, and what he did not say, something that would not just start engine. It would start a wildfire. So exactly what did he say? Be like Biff. Do it for Dale. Drivers, start your engine. That was it. Those were the words. And if you know Cleetus, you understand every part of that. Be Like Biff is a tribute to Greg Biffle. Biffle is someone Cleetus has credited as a close mentor and friend. A guy who helped him understand NASCAR racing. A guy who believed in him. So when Cleetus said be like Biff, that was genuine. That was personal. That was from the heart. Do it for Dale? That one goes even deeper. Dale Earnhardt has been a part of Cleetus McFarland's brand and identity for years. Cleetus grew up inspired by Earnhardt. He has referenced Dale repeatedly in his content. That phrase has been woven into who Cleetus is as a racing personality. So again, for Cleetus, this command was personal. It was emotional. It was authentic to him. But here is where everything changed. Weeks before this race at Michigan, NASCAR lost Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, Rowdy, the most decorated driver in NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series history. A 2-time Cup Series champion, arguably one of the 5 most important NASCAR figures of the last 20 years. A man who won more Truck Series races than any driver who ever lived. A man whose career in that series was so dominant it felt untouchable. And he was gone. The NASCAR world was still grieving, still raw, still processing. And here was Cleetus McFarland, sitting inside a NASCAR Craftsman truck, giving the Start Your Engines command. And Kyle Busch's name never left his lips. Now I want you to feel that for a second. Not just think about it. Feel it. Because for a lot of fans in that moment, it was not just an omission. It felt like erasure. Within minutes, and I mean minutes, social media lit up. And I'm going to be honest with you. Some of the reactions were completely understandable. Some of them went way too far. And all of it tells us something important about where NASCAR fans are emotionally right now. On X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, fans did not hold back. One person wrote, and I am paraphrasing to keep this clean, "What about Kyle Busch?" Simple, direct, heartfelt. Another fan wrote, "Rude to leave out Kyle." And then it got harder. Someone wrote, "Kinda forgot someone, you giant douchebag." Another fan, clearly a rowdy supporter, posted, "Thanks for remembering my hero Kyle Busch. You dip." These are the words of people who are grieved. People who loved a driver and felt like he was being overlooked in a moment that was made for exactly that kind of tribute. But then the conversation evolved. And this is where it gets really interesting, because it stopped being just about the missing name. It became something bigger. One fan wrote, "Does Cleetus have something against Kyle Busch? I can't recall him ever talking about Kyle in his content, and now he shafts him. He's the winningest truck driver ever, and you can't recognize him while you're sitting in a truck? That's weird." Another person echoed that sentiment, writing, "It sat with me wrong knowing he left Kyle Busch out." Someone else added, "Dude didn't even acknowledge Kyle Busch." This content creator, say those last two words like they mean something, because in the context of that comment, they did. And then the third wave hit. The part of the backlash that had nothing to do with Kyle Busch at all. Some fans were simply tired. Tired of Cleetus being everywhere. Tired of seeing a YouTuber get opportunities that they felt NASCAR legends had earned more. One user wrote plainly, "I've never seen a backmarker get this much attention." Another just said, "Okay, enough of Cleetus. Move on." That is three separate conversations happening at the same time. The Kyle Busch grief, the content creator resentment, and the wider debate about what NASCAR is becoming. All of it triggered by one 4-second comment. Now here is what makes this story more than just an angry comment section. Because not everyone piled on. Some fans pushed back on the backlash hard, and their arguments deserve to be heard because they are not wrong. One fan responded to the criticism by writing, "This is such a weird thing to get mad about. Cleetus had no connection to Kyle Busch. Dale was an inspiration to him, and Biffle was his close friend. He does not have to mention everybody." Read that again. He does not have to mention everybody. That is a fair point. Another supporter fired back at the critics saying, "So-called NASCAR fans are mad because Cleetus is bringing new audiences and new energy to an otherwise dead truck series that practically nobody watches. You should be thankful." And a third fan put it as directly as possible, "We all miss Kyle, but he does not need to be mentioned in everything." There it is, the full picture. On one side, you have people grieving a legend and feeling like that grief was ignored in a very public way. On the other side, you have people saying Cleetus was just being himself, honoring his own inspirations, and not everyone is obligated to make every moment about every other person. Both of those things can be true at the same time. That is what makes this so complicated. And that is exactly what we need to talk about now. Here is the question I want to sit with for a moment. Was this disrespect? Or was it just a painful collision between one man's personal identity and a community's collective grief? Let's be honest. Cleetus McFarland has been doing the Dale thing for years. It is part of his brand. It is part of how he talks about racing. And Greg Biffle has been a genuine mentor and friend to him, not just a name to drop. These were not random choices. These were not marketing decisions. They were personal. They came from a real place. Cleetus was not sitting in that truck thinking about who to leave out. He was thinking about the people who made him fall in love with racing. But here is the other truth. When you're given a microphone at a NASCAR Truck Series event, the same series that Kyle Busch dominated for almost 2 decades, in the weeks following Kyle's death, the awareness of the moment mattered. A single line, even just, and this one is for Rowdy, would have changed everything. It would have taken 3 seconds. It would have honored the sport's greatest Truck Series competitor, and it would have prevented all of this. But it did not happen. And now Cleetus is carrying the weight of that. Whether or not that is fair is almost beside the point. It is the reality he is living with right now. Intent is important. Intent is real. But so is impact. And in this moment, the impact hit thousands of Kyle Busch fans like a wave they were not ready for. That is not something you can just dismiss. Now let us talk about what happened after the engine started. Because Cleetus McFarland was not just there to give a command. He was there to race. And coming into Michigan, the pressure on him was real. At Daytona, his Truck Series debut, he lasted only 6 laps. 6 laps. He got loose early, overcorrected, and the truck was done. For a content creator trying to prove he belongs in professional NASCAR competition, that was a brutal way to start. But Michigan told a different story. Corey Heim won the race in dramatic fashion, holding off Caden Honeycutt at the line. Carson Hocevar ran one of the strongest trucks all day, leading 65 laps. but Heim got through late and took the checkered flag. Chandler Smith and Lane Riggs rounded out the top 5 genuinely fast, experienced racers, all doing exactly what you expect from elite Truck Series competitors. And Cleetus? He finished. He was on the lead lap. He had to spin late in the race. We will get to that in a moment, but he crossed the finish line. He completed the event. And for where he is in this journey, that was significant. Not because 25th place is impressive. It is not. But because the goal right now is not to win. The goal is to learn. And at Michigan, he learned more than he had in any race before. He had to spin during the race. Dirty air coming into a corner, went in too hot, felt the truck go away from him. And here is the part that matters. He caught it, then lost it again. But even losing it taught him something he could not have learned any other way. He felt the limit of the truck. He understood where the edge was. And instead of panicking and snapping the wheel like he did at Daytona, he rode it out, recovered, kept going. After the race, Cleetus spoke to media. And what he said was honest in a way you do not always hear from people in his position. He said, and this is almost word for word, "Man, I learned a ton. Corey Heim won. I basically got second, obviously because I finished, and I am now 50% on my truck race. Made it past my record of 6 laps. That is classic Cleetus. He is joking, but the point underneath the joke is completely real. He finished a Truck Series race. That matters to him. And then he got serious. He talked about what he actually took away from the experience. He said the biggest lesson was understanding what the truck feels like when it steps out. At Daytona, when the rear moved, he panicked. He turned down into the track, and that was the end of it. At Michigan, the truck moved around constantly, and instead of panicking, he drove through it. He learned that these trucks with their big wings and massive side forks can be pushed further than he thought. That the slide does not have to mean a crash. You can drive through it if you know what you are doing. And on the spin specifically, he was direct. He said, "I think at Daytona, it was purely an overreaction. At Michigan, I knew what was happening. I went in too fast. I had dirty air, and I just knew I was at the mercy of the slide. I actually caught it and then lost it. So I was like, dang it." That is a driver who is learning in real time, not making excuses, not blaming equipment, just honest self-assessment. He closed his post-race thoughts by saying, "The whole day was a huge learning experience. Finishing was enough for me. And what do we get? 25th? I mean, that is honestly phenomenal." So let us take it to Talladega. Talladega, his next confirmed Truck Series start. And after Michigan, he says he feels better about going back into a high-speed drafting race. That is notable. Talladega is one of the most unpredictable, most chaotic races in NASCAR. But Cleetus says he is ready. And based on the progress he showed at Michigan, he might actually be closer than people expect. Here's what I think this whole story is really about. And I want you to hear this part clearly, because this is bigger than Cleetus. This is bigger than the command. This is about what NASCAR is becoming and how it navigates the collision between tradition and change. Cleetus McFarland brings something to NASCAR that no press release or TV deal can buy. He brings millions of people who would otherwise never watch a Truck Series race. He streams his practice runs live. His fans learn about NASCAR through his journey. They start watching races they never would have watched. They start caring about tracks they had never heard of. That is genuinely valuable for a series that has historically struggled to grow its audience. Having a crossover personality compete in actual races is not nothing. It is something, and the NASCAR organization clearly believes that. But here is the tension. NASCAR has 80 years of tradition. It has fans who have been watching since they were kids. Fans who grew up with Dale Earnhardt. Fans who watched Kyle Busch win 35, 40, 50 Truck Series races and felt like they were watching the greatest to ever do it. Those fans built this sport. They kept it alive through lean years. And when they see a YouTube personality, someone still learning the basics of professional oval racing, getting grand marshal duties and massive spotlight moments, some of them feel like the sport is leaving them behind. Both of those things are real. Both of those communities matter. And NASCAR is trying to serve both of them at the same time. That is an almost impossible balance to strike perfectly. In moments like the Michigan command, completely unintentional, probably expose just how hard that balance is to maintain. Cleetus is not the villain in this story. He is a guy who loves cars, loves racing, loves Dale Earnhardt, and is genuinely trying to compete at a professional level. He is not perfect. He is still learning. But the effort is real. The passion is real. And the growth he showed from Daytona to Michigan, That is real too. Whether traditional fans choose to see that or not is their own decision. And to truly understand why the missing name cuts so deep, you have to know who Kyle Busch really was in that truck seat. From 2001 through the end of his career, Kyle Busch accumulated a record that no driver in history has come close to matching in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He won races across multiple decades. He competed in the series while simultaneously running full Cup and Xfinity schedule. He was the rare driver who treated every series with the same ferocity and intensity he brought to the Daytona 500. He did not coast through truck races. He attacked them, and the sport rewarded him with a record that may never be broken. When Cleetus gave that command from inside a NASCAR truck and the name Rowdy was never spoken, it was not just an omission from you. It was a silence in a place that had always, until now, known that name as its greatest champion. That is why it hurt. So here is where we land. Cleetus McFarland gave a command that was personal, that was authentic, and that was not meant to hurt anyone. But it landed in the middle of a community still grieving, in a moment that deserved one more name. Whether you think you should have known better, or whether you think the backlash was completely unfair, you are not wrong for feeling the way you feel. This sport runs on emotion. Always has. And right now that emotion is turned up to maximum because NASCAR just lost one of its greatest ever. Cleetus is going to Talladega. He is still learning. He is going to make more mistakes, and he is going to have more moments. And every single one of them is going to be watched under a microscope. That is the deal he made when he stepped into NASCAR. And honestly, based on what we saw at Michigan, he might just be ready for that pressure. What do you think? Did Cleetus disrespect Kyle Busch? Or are fans reacting out of grief and directing it at the wrong target? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I read every single one. And if you're not subscribed to NASCAR Report today yet, what are you waiting for? We cover every story, every controversy, every moment that matters in NASCAR. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, and I will see you in the next one.